Where did you get those clothes? At the toilet store?
Hey, what's happening? It's Pete with Backdraft. How's my party people doing? I wanted to do a review. I got 300 miles on my new Scrambler XE. I like to try to do a little bit of a extended ride review on this, just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a heads up of how I'm thinking of the bike so far, what I like, what I don't like. I decided I wanted to start the video with a walk around. I wanted to just show a couple of the things I've done to the bike. I put a Triumph hard bag on it, which I really like. Some people are probably gonna hate on me for this, but it's like the coolest bike bag ever. It comes off like literally in 2 seconds, and it goes on in literally like 1 second. Super cool, super easy to install too. Triumph built this bike and they thought about the accessory line. As you can tell, there's a lot of accessories available for it. So all the accessories that I bought so far have been Triumph brand, except for my GPS/cell phone holder. But they all bolt in perfect, super cool. I put crash bars on it as well, just because I like to explore, and the engine case sticks way out, so I mean that'd be the first thing to get whacked if I hit something. But as far as walking around the bike and just kind of giving you the lay of the land, it sits up high. I have roughly a 33-inch inseam, and my feet are almost flat on the ground. I am 6'4", so I'm a tall guy, so my arms are very comfortable riding this bike, which I found, as far as comfort goes on longer trips, this bike is really nice so far. Of course, I only have 300 miles on it. I did 150 miles the other day. As far as trips go, though, this is a naked bike. You're in the open. You can see and feel everything, including the wind. So if you're on the highway, you're going to feel yourself kind of, get pulled back a little bit. And it does get a little tiring after, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours on the highway, but you get used to it. Don't be a baby, right? LED headlight, super cool. You can see the deer, the moose, the bear, whatever, pedestrians. It is much better than my Thruxton R. Projection on this is very flat and planed, and the high beam brings it up a little bit, and you don't have that huge washout right in front of you like you did with the Thruxton light. I think it's just a US DOT spec, because these lights actually say DOT on them, and I believe what that is it's the United States laying a law down saying you can't have lights that are this bright. I also fitted this with the Triumph LED fog lights, and they're mucho bright, so that's super exciting. I can't wait to actually try them. We get a lot of fog up here in northern New England, so I'm super stoked about having those, and I'll have to do a review on those as well later on once I use them. I have installed everything on this bike. I wrench. So in my review videos, I'll try to talk about how I installed them and things like that. Okay, Triumph. Again, in my first review video I mentioned this, but you've got like brushed aluminum, stainless, powder coated aluminum, up the wazoo. There's so many different colors of silver on this bike, it's a little sickening. I personally don't like to ride a fishing lure down the road. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a British thing to have as much bling as you possibly can on a motorcycle, but it's not for me. So I have taken systematically pieces off the bike and ceramic coated them just a little bit less shiny. So again, I got the crash bars on it. They don't really make a X pipe for this yet. There's only one person making it, and it is mucho denarius, so I have to wait until that goes down a little bit, unless you want to send me one free. I did throw the Aero Exhaust on it, thanks to some of my friends at Triumph Seattle. Look them up if you want. Oscar's the parts manager there. I'm going to do another review on those with a before and after and how loud they are, but I will tell you they were very difficult to remove the silencers, and I'll talk more about that in the separate video. I also put a luggage rack / grab handles on here. It's good to have something, because these type of bikes, if you're off-road and you do get it flipped over or stuck, you want to be able to move it. I like the handles, especially if you have a passenger. They like to have something to hold on to, and this bike is good for 2-up riding. It comes factory with rear sets for the passenger. I wish Triumph would do something with this stupid license plate tail fin. Like, it feels like they had Boeing design this thing, and it's like a tail wing on an airplane. They do have already some sort of relocation kit, but it still doesn't really solve this massive hanging down problem thing. I like it because it behaves similar to a dual sport. It reminds me a lot of my Tiger, which I do miss. Triumph, I think, sees that there's a big market for riders like myself, that the roads are junk. There is a small mix of dirt / road riding. I think they want to make a bike that fits those riders, and that's me. That's my market, and they have hit the bullseye with me on this bike. Once I saw the bike advertised, I said I really want to drive one. Once I drove it at the dealership the very day that I did the test drive, I ended up purchasing it.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah, why don't we get on the bike, we'll take it for a spin, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the performance features. I hope this bag isn't too hipster, because I kind of do like it. It fits a six-pack too, in case you were wondering. Not that I would be drinking and driving.
Stop it. Get some help.
One thing I wanted to tell you about this. There is no key for this. You have a fob. It's in my pocket, and there's this funky, weird looking deal here. To turn it on and off, to turn the power on, you push up. If you're in a hurry and you just want to start it, you can just hold it down, and it will see the key in your pocket. We got the bike on. You can see the TFT display here. Hopefully, I don't know if you can see it too well, but the display is really nice. It has a couple different display modes. You can select everything with this little joystick over here that I'm tweaking my thumb, but it's kind of awkward when you've got gloves on, you're driving. There is a couple different modes. You can easily select different modes, from sport to off-road pro, which disables everything and gives you sport on the throttle. Rider is actually user-defined, rain, and then again road mode. The sport mode, between sport and road mode, I think you'll spend most of your time. All right, so I'm going to start. I'm going to put it in off-road mode. What this does is it tells ABS to calm down. It tells traction control, calm down. The traction control is still on a little bit, but it's just a little tamer. And then it maps the throttle for off-road conditions. The Off-Road Pro disables everything and gives you basically like dirt bike feel. You know, that's nice if you're used to riding motocross like I am, you can easily get on the bike and drive it. But if you're in road and you go to take off in dirt, you'll stall it. I've done that quite a bit now. So all right, so what we're going to do is we got it in the run position. We're going to start it up. And I have the arrows on here now, so it's a little louder. Does sound good, doesn't it? All right, let's turn around. Let's get out of here. As you can see, traction control kicks off. I don't want to dig up this place too much, but it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Now to change, if let's say I didn't want to be on this mode anymore, literally with my thumb, I can push and go right into whatever else I want to. That's as easy as it is. Now on the Tiger, remember you had to go through menus and cycle through and tell it to turn on and off traction control and ABS. It was a real pain. This one, very, very easy. All right, let's get out of here. So let's talk a little bit about some of the riding features on this bike. Because it is similar to a dual sport, it doesn't mind the occasional gravel on the road, bumps on the road, that type of stuff. It's well suited for that. Very, very nice up here where we don't have good roads and winter seems to be 9 months long. So I have to say that I really, really like the way this bike handles the rough terrain. And that was one of the main selling features to me. I absolutely love my Thruxton R, but the roads and the weather are so junky up here that I had to make a change because I like to ride. Besides for that, the riding position on this, like I said, I'm sitting. It's really nice. And what I found is that position is very conducive to long rides, whereas the Thruxton, once you got going a little bit, your lower back would ache a little bit after, you know, an hour or two on the bike. My wrists seem to get a little sore after a while too, because you're just pushing right down on the handlebars. This one you're not. This one you're very neutral. My arms are straight out. It's great. I love it. Suspension wise on this bike, again, comparing it a little to the Thruxton R, it's got premium suspension components. Showas up front, Öhlins in the back. Both have two forms of adjustment on them, and the rear on these are specifically suited for off-road valving, and they have even a wider adjustability range to give you that really nice soak up the bumps feel. So and the front's the same way. The front's got tons of suspension travel. When you get on the brakes hard on this, there is a little bit of a dip. It's not as bad as a dirt bike, but it has that feeling. So it is very similar. And I actually feel that this bike, its suspension is better than the Tiger that I had because of the fact that it's really suited more for rough and ready terrain instead of mainly on the street. Okay, so the suspension's awesome. Brakes, again, the brakes, very, very good. My only drawback on the brakes, again, is on some gravel, the rotors tend to pick up a little mud here and there, so you kind of have to be aware of that. So, you know, just wash your bike off, I guess, when you get back. I don't really know what else to say about that. Don't be dumb. This bike, I would definitely classify this bike as an adventure bike. I would not go to the level of it's a total dual sport. I would give this bike more on-road than off-road capability, but it is not a slouch whatsoever. As far as the flickability, as Captain Rambunctious says, you can whip this bike around just like a dirt bike, and it behaves very similar. The Tiger was similar to that as well, but I had a 1200 and it was very, very top heavy. The Tiger had that real top heavy feeling to it. So this bike's center of gravity, I don't know if it's higher or lower, but it feels lower. It feels that I can easily twitch it around corners, and I don't have that same I'm gonna tip over feeling that I had on my big Tiger. Of course, my Thruxton, my last bike, it's totally different riding style. That one's super low slung on the ground, rock and roll, and you know, it's just a little different. So let's execute this turn here. There we go. As you can see, there's a lot of sand on the roads, so a little rough here. How you doing, guys? The engine, very similar to the Thruxton R's 1200. It's got that same snap down low, but I will tell you the difference I've noticed in this bike versus my Thruxton, which I'm just coming off of. This engine seems to be a little faster revving. It seems to want to get up to speed a little bit quicker. Now, I talked to Triumph about this and I said, is it my imagination? And the engineer on the phone told me, no, it's actually not. They've lightened the crankshaft on this considerably to allow for that faster rev. What's odd about that, again, I have an extensive background in auto mechanics and things. Oftentimes when you lighten the flywheel and you lighten the reciprocating mass, you get less torque. That's why, like a Honda Civic, you can wind it up, yang, 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 yang. But when you get to a hill, it dies because it's just the torque isn't there. This bike, I believe, has more torque than the Thruxton, but less horsepower. It's about 10 horsepower less from right out of the crate. So again, Triumph did a really good job balancing the needs. And off-road, you want a bike that's going to wind up quick, because if you're in trouble, you might need to spin out of something. And so that's kind of cool. It's kind of a neat engineering move they made. I do like the power curve on this too, but again, it's still in run-in, so I haven't really flogged this yet too much. So stay tuned. We'll give you another flogging video coming out soon. It'll give you more. The tank, old metal tank looking style, it's nice. They do some funny paint jobs on these. I would prefer just black, but you know, that's just me. They have the blue, black and blue, and then they have the green and white. And this was the only bike they had, and I actually like the way the color looks a little better than the white. The white is too bright, in my opinion. But black and blue, I just said, hey, I might as well get that, because when I get chucked off the bike, that's what my body's gonna look like. Again, I think you're getting the message when we're driving here, but you're really sitting up nice and tight, and you can really see everything. So we're gonna go, we'll do a dirt road here. We got a little dirt road we can do coming up right here, and you can see the Northern New England frost heave sign. Frost heave means it's a big bump in the road from the road thawing and unthawing. So this should be a good road. We'll hit some bumps. Let me complain a little bit for a second. Triumph is really good at their fit and finish, right? Their bikes seem to be put together pretty well, and usually not a lot of issues. One thing I've noticed about this bike, and I don't know if it was a rush to come to the market with the bike model or not, but I've noticed a lot of rattles and squeaks. So I tracked them down, and the number plate on the right hand side of the bike by the exhaust, I put a rubber bumper in between that and the heat shield, because what was happening, that was rattling on the heat shield, and that was causing some trouble. And then underneath that, the Scrambler 1200 little plastic piece, it's got a little embellishment on it, that was slapping on the heat shield, and that was causing a little rattling. So I also put a small piece of felt under there just to see if that would help, and it solved all the problems. Is that a deal breaker? Nah, just kind of like dumb engineering. I'm not sure why Triumph wouldn't have said, hey, something sounds like it's about to blow off the bike, we might want to fix it. Look at that place. Yes, sir. That's what you call a redneck palace right there. Anyways, a couple other gripes. These stupid mirrors, they stick way up like antennas. Here, let's go down this road. You want to go down this road? Let's check it out. Alright, so here's a pretty bumpy dirt road. This will give you a little indication about where we're at. This bike loves it. It absolutely loves it. I live on a dirt road, so every time I go to work, I gotta drive it up. And you know, with my Thruxton, I wouldn't be able to ride for quite some time until the mud calmed down and the road was fixed. And this bike, as soon as I got it, I was out on it. So here's some bumps right here. Ready? See? No problem. And I did come off the seat a little bit. This bike is very, very conducive to standing up. It's just like a dirt bike from that respect. So, you know, as far as my likability on this bike, and I have test driven a lot of different models for Triumph, I really do like this bike a lot. I would dare say this is my favorite bike that I've ridden. Again, I wasn't planning on buying this bike, but after I rode it, it was like an offer I couldn't refuse. I had to take it home. And I know as I drive it more and I get used to the way it handles and things like that, I'll be a little more daring on it. And obviously when the run-in period is over, look out. I know this bike likes to wheelie. You can feel it when you're driving it. There we go. That gives you a little bit of a detail about what we're at. It's pretty awesome. So yeah, if I was gonna give it a 0 to 10 rating, I'd give it a 9. It's pretty close to perfection. It's pretty close. So if you have any questions, leave me a comment below. Feel free to like and subscribe. I do try to answer all my questions. As you know, please ride safe, always wear a helmet. And we'll catch you on the flip side.